The next part of chapter 6 takes us back down into Holly's cell. Holly sat on the edge of her bed, fingers curled around the metal base. She lifted slowly, taking the weight on her arms. The strain threatened to pop her elbows from their sockets. She held it for a second, then slammed the frame into the concrete. A satisfying cloud of dust and splinters swirled around her knees. What do you think she's doing? She's lifting it up, building up some pressure, building up some momentum, then dropping it down. Holly sat on the edge of her bed. Oh, I already read that. That happens all the time in the classroom, doesn't it? Good, she grunted. Holly eyed the camera. Doubtless they were watching her. No time to waste. She flexed her fingers, repeating the maneuver again and again until the steel base left deep welts in her finger joints. With each impact, more and more splinters popped from the fresh floor. After several moments, the cell door burst open and Juliet fell into the room. "What are you doing?" she panted. "Trying to knock the house down?" "I'm hungry," shouted Holly, "and I'm fed up of waving at that stupid camera. Don't you feed your prisoners around here? I want some food." Do you think Holly's really hungry? Juliet's fingers curled into a fist. Artemis had warned her to be civil, but there was a limit. "No need to get your... whatever. So what do you fairies eat?" "Got any dolphin?" Holly asked sarcastically. Juliet shuddered. "No, I don't, you beast." "Fruit then, or vegetables. Make sure they're washed. I don't want any of your chemical poisons in my blood." "Ha ha, what a riot you are. Don't worry, all our produce is grown naturally." Juliet paused on her way to the door. "And don't you go forgetting the rules. No trying to escape from the house. There's no need to break up the furniture either. Don't make me demonstrate my full Nelson." As soon as Juliet's footsteps had faded, Holly began smashing the bed into the concrete. That was the thing about fairy bonds. The instructions had to be given eye to eye, and they had to be very precise. Just saying there was no need to do a thing wasn't specifically forbidding an elf to do it. And another thing, Holly had no intention of escaping from the house. That wasn't to say she didn't mean to get out of this cell. Artemis had added yet another monitor to the bank. This one was linked to a camera in Angeline Fowle's attic room. He spared a moment to check on his mother. Sometimes it bothered him, having a camera in her room. It seemed almost like spying, but it was for her own good. There was always the danger that she could hurt herself. At the moment, she was sleeping peacefully, having swallowed the sleeping pill that Juliet had left on her tray. All part of the plan. A vital part. Butler entered the control room. He was clutching a fistful of fairy hardware and rubbing his neck. "Tricky little blighters." Artemis looked up from the monitor bank. "Any problems?" "Nothing major. These little batons pack quite a punch, though. How's our prisoner?" "Fine. Juliet is getting her something to eat. I'm afraid Captain Short is going a bit stir-crazy." On the screen, Holly was smashing her cot into the concrete. "Well, it's understandable," noted the manservant. "Imagine her frustration. It's not as if she can tunnel her way out." Artemis smiled. No. The entire estate is built on a bed of limestone. Not even a dwarf could tunnel his way out of here. Or in. Wrong, as it happened to be. Dead wrong. A landmark moment for Artemis Fowl. Now this is like one of the greatest moments of foreshadowing that we have come across in our reading together. Artemis says not even a dwarf could tunnel his way out or in. Wrong, as it happened. Dead wrong. So the author's telling you what about a dwarf and tunnels? Oh, I can't wait for the next chapter when you meet Mulch. Oh, you're gonna love him. I think I told you about him before, but you're gonna love him. You gotta wait till we finish this chapter. The LEP had procedures for emergencies like this one. Admittedly, these did not include the retrieval squad getting hammered by a lone enemy. Still, that just made the next step all the more urgent, especially with the faintest of orange tinges creeping into the sky. Dawn, my scientists, when night turns to day, that's the dawn as the earth rotates and we begin to face the sun. "Are we good to go?" roared Root into his mic as though it wasn't whisper sensitive. "Good to go," thought Foley, busy wiring the last dish on a watchtower. These military types and their catchphrases. "Good to go. Lock and load. I don't know, but I've been told." So insecure. Aloud, he said, "No need to shout, Commander. These headsets could pick up a spider scratching in Madagascar." "And is there a spider scratching in Madagascar?" Well, I don't know. They can't really... Stop changing the subject, Foley, and answer the question. The centaur scowled. The commander took everything so literally. He plugged the dish's modem lead into his laptop. Okay, we're good to go. About time, too. Right, flip the switch. For the third time in as many moments, Foley gritted his horsey teeth. He was indeed the stereotypical unappreciated genius. Flick the switch, if you don't mind. Root didn't have the cranial capacity to appreciate what he was trying to do here. Stopping time wasn't just a matter of pressing the on button. There was a series of delicate procedures that had to be performed with utmost precision. Otherwise, the stop zone could end up as just so much ash and radioactive slop. While it was true that fairies had been stopping time for millennia, these days, with satellite communication and the internet, humans were liable to notice if a zone just dropped out of time for a couple hours. There was an age when you could throw a blanket stoppage over a whole country and the mud people would simply think the gods were angry. But not anymore. Nowadays, the humans had instruments for measuring anything. So if there was any time stopping to be done, it had better be fine-tuned and precise. In the old days, 5 elfin warlocks could form a pentagram around the target and spread a magical shield over it, temporarily stopping time inside the enchanted closure. This was fine as far as it went, provided the warlocks didn't have to use the bathroom. Many a siege was lost because an elf had one glass of wine too many. Warlocks tire quickly too and their arms get sore. On a good day, you had maybe an hour and a half, which was hardly worth the trouble in the first place. It was Foley's idea to mechanize the whole procedure. He had the warlocks do their thing into lithium batteries and then set up a network of receiver dishes around the designated area. Sounds simple? Well, it wasn't. But there were definite advantages. For one thing, there were no more power surges. Batteries didn't try to show off to each other. You could calculate exactly how many power cells were needed, and sieges could be extended for up to 8 hours. As it happened, the Foul Estate was the perfect location for a time stop, isolated with definite boundary. It even had elevated towers for the dishes, for heaven's sakes. It's almost as if the Artemis Fowl wanted it to be time stopped. Foley's finger hesitated over the button. Could that be possible? After all, the human youth had been one step ahead throughout this whole affair. Commander? Are we online yet? Not exactly. There's something... Root's reaction nearly blew the woofers in Foley's earpiece. No, Foley, there isn't something. None of your bright ideas. Thank you very much. Captain Short's life is in danger, so push that button before I climb that tower and push it with your face. Touchy, muttered Foley and pushed the button. Lieutenant Cudgeon chucked his moonometer. You have 8 hours. I know how much time I have, growled Root, and stop following me. Don't you have work to do? Actually, now that you mention it, I do have a bio-bomb to arm. Root rounded on him. Don't annoy me, Lieutenant. Having you make comments at every turn is not improving my concentration. Just do whatever it is you feel you have to do, but be prepared to back it up in tribunal. If this one goes wrong, heads are going to roll. Indeed, muttered Cudgeon under his breath, but mine isn't going to be one of them. Root checked the sky. A shimmering azure field had descended over the Foul Estate. Good. They were in limbo. Outside the walls, life continued at an exaggerated pace, but if anyone were to somehow gain access to the manor in spite of the fortified walls and high gate, they would find it deserted, all occupants trapped in the past. So for the next 8 hours, it would be twilight on the Foul Estate. After that, Root could not guarantee Holly's safety. Given the gravity of the situation, it was more than likely that Cudgeon would get the go-ahead to bio-bomb the whole place. Root had seen it blue once before. No living thing escaped. Not even the rats. Root caught up with Foley at the base of the north tower. The centaur had parked a shuttle by the 3-foot-thick wall. Already, the work area was a mess of tangled wires and pulsating fiber optics. Foley, are you in here? The centaur's foil-capped head emerged from the belly of a disemboweled hard drive. Over here, Commander. You've come to push a button with my face, I presume? Root almost laughed. Don't tell me you're looking for an apology, Foley. I've already used my quota for today, and that was to a lifelong friend. Cudgeon? Forgive me, Commander, but I wouldn't waste my apologies on the lieutenant. He won't be wasting any on you when he stabs you in the back. You're wrong about him. Cudgeon is a good officer, a bit eager certainly, but he'll do the right thing when the time comes. The right thing for himself, maybe. I don't think Holly is at the top of his priority list. Root didn't answer. He couldn't. And another thing. I have a sneaking suspicion that young Artemis Fowl wanted us to stop time. After all, everything else we've tried has played straight into his hands. Root rubbed his temples. That's impossible. How could a human know about time stoppage? Anyway, this is no time for theorizing, Foley. I have less than 8 hours to clean up this mess. What have you got for me? Foley clopped over to an equipment rack clamped to the wall. No heavy armament, that's for sure. Not after what happened to Retrieval 1. No helmet either. That beast of a mudman seems to collect them. No, to show good faith, we're going to send you in unarmed and unarmored. Root snorted. What manual did you get that from? It's standard operating procedure. Fostering trust speeds communication. Oh, stop quoting and give me something to shoot with. Suit yourself, sighed Foley, selecting what looked like a finger from the rack. What's that? It's a finger. What does it look like? A finger, admitted Root. Yes, but not any ordinary finger. He glanced around to make sure no one else was watching. The tip contains a pressurized dart. One shot only. You tap the knuckle with your thumb and someone goes, Betty bye. Why haven't I seen this before? It's a covert kind of thing. And, said Root suspiciously, well, there have been accidents. Tell me, Foley. Our agents keep forgetting they have it on. Meaning they shoot themselves? Foley nodded miserably. Yeah. One of our best sprites was picking his nose at the time. 3 days on the critical list. Root rolled the memory latex onto his index finger where it immediately assumed the shape and flesh tone of the host digit. Don't worry, Foley, I'm not a complete idiot. Anything else? Foley unhooked what appeared to be a false bottom from the equipment rack. You're not serious. Come on, what does that do? Nothing. But it gets a great laugh at parties. Root chuckled twice. That was a major lapse for him. Okay, levity over. Are you going to wire me? Naturally. One iris cam. What color? He peered into the commander's eyes. Mud brown. He selected a small vial from the shelf and removed the electronic contact lens from a fluid capsule. Plucking Root's eyelid with thumb and forefinger, he slotted in the iris cam. That might irritate you. Try not to rub it or you could end up in the back... Try not to rub it or it could end up in the back of your eye. Then we'd be looking into your head and heaven knows there's nothing interesting in there. Root blinked, resisting the urge to knead his watering eye. That's it? Foley nodded. That's all we dare risk. The commander agreed reluctantly. His hip felt very light without a tri-barreled blaster dangling from it. Okay. I suppose this amazing dart finger will have to do. Honestly, Foley, if this blows up in my face, you'll be on the next shuttle back to Haven. The centaur snickered. Just be careful on the toilet. Root didn't laugh. There were just some things you did not joke about. Artemis's watch had stopped. It was as though Greenwich wasn't there anymore. Or perhaps, mused Artemis, we're the ones who have disappeared. He checked CNN. It had frozen. A picture of Riz Khan jittered slightly on the screen. Artemis could not hold back a satisfied smile. They'd done it, just like the book said. The LEP had stopped time, all according to his plan. Time to check out a theory. Artemis wheeled over to the monitor bank and punched up the MAM cam on the 28-inch main monitor. Angeline Fowl was no longer on the chaise lounge. Artemis panned around the room. It was empty. His mother had gone, disappeared. His smile widened. Perfect, just as he'd suspected. Artemis switched his attention to Holly Short. She was banging that bed again. Occasionally she would rise from the mattress, pounding on the wall with her bare fists. Maybe it was more than frustration. Could there be a method in her madness? He tapped the monitor with a slim finger. What are you up to, Captain? What is your little plan? He was distracted by a movement on the Avenue monitor. At last, he breathed. The games begin. A figure was advancing down the avenue. Small, but imposing nonetheless. Unshielded, too. Finished play acting, then. Artemis punched the intercom button. Butler, we have a guest. I'll show him in. You get back here and police the surveillance cameras. Butler's voice came back tinny through the speaker. 10-4, Artemis, on my way. Artemis buttoned his designer jacket, pausing at the mirror to straighten his tie. The trick to negotiation was to hold all the cards going in, and even if you didn't, try to look as though you did. Artemis put on his best sinister face. Evil, he told himself. Evil, but highly intelligent. And determined, don't forget determined. He put a hand on the doorknob. Steady now. Deep breaths. And try not to think about the possibility that you have misjudged this situation and are about to be shot dead. 1, 2, 3. He opened the door. Good evening, he said, every inch the gracious host, albeit a sinister, evil, intelligent, and determined one. Root stood on the doorstep, palms up, the universal gesture for, look, I'm not carrying a big murderous weapon. You're Fowl? Artemis Fowl, at your service. And you are? LEP Commander Root, right? We know each other's names, now can we get on with this? Certainly. Root decided to chance taking out his weapon. Step outside, then, where I can see you. Artemis's face hardened. Have you learned nothing from my demonstrations? The ship? Your commandos? Do I need to actually kill someone? No, said Root hurriedly. You only meant to lure me outside where I could be snatched and used for trade. Please, Commander Root, raise your game or send someone intelligent. Root felt the blood pump through his cheeks. Now you just listen to me, you young... Artemis smiled in command again. Not very good negotiation techniques, Commander, to lose your cool before we even get to the table. Root took several breaths. Fine, whatever you say. Where would you prefer to conduct our talks? Inside, of course. You have my permission to enter. But remember, Captain Short's life is in your hands. Be careful with it. Root followed his host down the vaulted hallway. Generations of fowls glared down at him from classical portraits. They passed through a stained oak doorway to a long conference room. There were 2 places set at the round table, complete with pads, ashtrays, and water jugs. Root was delighted to see the ashtrays and immediately pulled a half-chewed cigar from his vest. Maybe you're not such a barbarian after all, he grunted, exhaling a huge cloud of green smoke. The commander ignored the water jugs, instead pouring himself a shot of something purple from his hip flask. He drank deeply, belched, and sat. Ready? Artemis shuffled his notes like a news anchor. Here's the situation as I see it. I have the means to expose your subterranean existence, and you are powerless to stop me. So basically, whatever I ask for is a small price to pay. Root spat out a shred of fungus tobacco. So you think you can just put all this information out over the internet? Well, not immediately, not with the time stop in effect. Root choked on a lungful of smoke. Their ace in the hole was gone. Well, if you know about the time stop, you must also know you are completely cut off from the outside world. You are, in effect, powerless. Artemis jotted a note on the pad. Let's save some time here. I grow weary of your clumsy bluffs. In the case of an abduction, the LEP will first send a crack retrieval team to get back what has been lost. You have done so. Excuse me while I giggle. Crack team. Honestly, a Cub Scout patrol armed with water pistols could have defeated them. Root fumed silently, taking out his anger on the cigar butt. The next official step is negotiation, and finally, when the 8-hour time limit is about to run out and if no solution can be reached, a biobomb is detonated, contained by the time field. You appear to know an awful lot about us, Master Fowl. I don't suppose you'll tell me how. That's correct. Root mashed the remains of his cigar into the crystal ashtray. So let's have it. What are your demands? One demand, singular. Artemis slid his notepad across the polished table. Root read what was written there. 1 ton of 24-karat gold, small, unmarked ingots only. You can't be serious. Oh, but I am. Root sat forward in his chair. Don't you see your position is untenable? Either you give us back Captain Short or we will be forced to kill you. There's no middle ground. We don't negotiate, not really. I'm just here to explain the facts to you. Artemis smiled his vampire smile. Oh, you will negotiate with me, Commander. Oh, really? And what makes you so special? I'm special because I know how to escape the time field. Impossible, snorted Root. Can't be done. Oh, yes, it can. Trust me. I haven't been wrong yet. Root tore off the top page, folding it into his pocket. I'll have to think about this. Take your time. We have 8 hours. 7.5 hours. Then time's up for everybody. Root said nothing for a long while, tapping his nails on the tabletop. He took a breath to speak, then changed his mind and stood abruptly. We'll be in touch. Don't worry, I'll see myself out. Artemis pushed his chair back. You do that. But remember this. None of your race has permission to enter here while I'm alive. Root stalked down the hallway, glaring back at the oil paintings. Better to leave now and process this new information. The foul boy was indeed a slippery opponent, but he was making one basic mistake, the assumption that Root would play by the rules. However, Julius Root hadn't gotten his commander's stripes by following any rule book. Time for a bit of unorthodox action. The videotape from Root's iris scan was being reviewed by experts. You see there, said Professor Cumulus, a behavioral specialist, that twitch. He's lying. Nonsense, huffed Dr. Argonne, a psychologist from below the United States. He's itchy, that's all. He's itchy, so he scratches. Nothing sinister to it. Cumulus turned to Foley. Listen to him. How can I be expected to work with this charlatan? I'm a witch, doctor, countered Argonne. Foley raised his hairy palms. Gentlemen, please. We need an agreement here. A concrete profile. It's no use, said Argonne. I can't work in these conditions. Cumulus folded his arms. If he can't work, neither can I. Root strode through the shuttle's double doors. His trademark purple complexion was even rosier than usual. That human's toying with us, and I will not have it. Now, what did our experts make of the tape? Foley moved slightly to the side, allowing the commander a clear run at the so-called experts. Apparently, they can't work in these conditions. Root's eyes narrowed into slits, bringing his prey into sharp focus. Excuse me? The good doctor is a half-wit, said Cumulus, unfamiliar with the commander's temper. I am a half-wit, stuttered Argonne, equally ignorant. What about you, you cave fairy? Plastering your absurd interpretations onto the most innocent of gestures. Innocent? A boy is a bag of nerves, obviously lying. It's textbook. Root slammed a clenched fist onto the table, sending a spiderweb of cracks scurrying across the surface. Silence! And silence there was, instantly. Now you two experts are on handsome retainers for your profiling work, correct? The pair nodded, afraid to speak in case that broke the silence rule. This is probably the case of your lives, so I want you to concentrate very hard. Understood? More nods. Root popped the camera out of his weeping eye. Fast forward it, Foley, toward the end. The tape hopped forward erratically. On screen, Root followed the human into his conference room. There. Stop it. Stop it right there. Can you zoom in on his face? Can I zoom in on his face? Sort of like, can a dwarf steal the web under a spider? Yes, replied Root. That was a rhetorical question, actually. I don't need a grammar lesson, Foley. Just zoom in, would you? Foley ground his tombstone teeth. Okay, boss, will do. The centaur's fingers prodded the keyboard with lightning speed. Artemis's visage grew to fill the plasma screen. I'd advise you to listen, said Root, squeezing the expert's shoulders. This is a pivotal moment in your careers. I am special, said the mouth on the screen, because I can escape the time field. Now tell me, said Root, is he lying? Run it again, said Cumulus. Show me the eyes. Argonne nodded. Yes, just the eyes. Foley tapped a few more keys, and Artemis's deep blue eyes expanded to the width of the screen. I am special, boomed the voice, because I can escape the time field. Well, is he lying? Cumulus and Argonne looked at each other, all traces of antagonism gone. No, they said simultaneously. He's telling the truth, added the behaviorist. Or, clarified the psychologist, at least he thinks he is. Root swabbed his eye with a cleansing solution. That's what I thought. When I looked that human in the face, I figured he was either a genius or crazy. Artemis's cool eyes glared at them from the screen. So which is it? Asked Foley. A genius or crazy? Root grabbed his tri-barreled blaster from the gun rack. What's the difference? He snapped, strapping his trusty weapon to his hip. Get me an outside line to E1. This foul person seems to know all of our rules. It's time to go break a few. Oh, wait till you see what he does to break the rules in Chapter 7. See you next time.